they spend time with and hang out with. They feel these friends appreciate their time and appreciate them even better. They feel they can talk to them about any and everything without feeling like they have to look over their shoulders or being judged. They share their deep emotional thoughts and concerns with these people other than their spouses and their partners. Some say they feel more accepted and these people are more gentle and tender towards them. They will tell you they feel liberated and can't be themselves around these friends.
I know he will. And
if they have good news, these friends are the first point of call. Same if it's bad news.
come on and worship with me. Say it. Come on.
If they are not physically present with them,
Give up.
then they're on video calls and long phone chats with them.
Joy is coming. I know.
They tell you they're just friends, no sexual feelings or no sexual relations attached.
Hallelujah.
And at that point, I will say, ayo. I recall one lady, a friend actually, telling me if I have a problem, the last person I want to talk to is my husband.
Yeah.
She cited that she had an accident while driving back home one evening. He had to call this friend because all she needed was somebody who would console her and empathize, not one who will quiz her.
Witness in here somewhere.
So she called this friend of hers and he was indeed sweet.
No matter.
Her car was a bit damaged, but she felt good about herself because of who she was talking to.
Oh, I love you so much, Jesus.
But she said she briefly had to hang up to inform her husband as well. And oh, he was upset. So where were you looking? What happened? Were you dozing off? All of these, even before asking, but are you okay?
I know you can.
Then he went back to whine about money, cost of fixing the car, and how careful she should have been. She said, Adam, I just stayed on the phone, listened to his whining, and when he was done, I called my friend back and he talked me all the way through my drive back home. Saying just those soothing things that I needed to hear.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. I know that you can stand.
She says that why would I bother to call him for anything? She had a promotion from work. Husband says, good for you, congrats. Friend says, happy for you, wow, you work so hard, you deserve it. It comes, he says what? Come, let's go celebrate. And she says, Adam, I did. We had dinner and talked for about 2 hours. I got home. Husband, so how much more are they paying you for this promotion? I told him, and his response, but that is not much. Anyways, better than before. Then she says, then no. He asked me to go shower so we can celebrate in bed. She asked, Adam, who will enjoy that kind of sex? I can go on and on. But I hope you catch a glimpse of what I am trying to say. People call this emotional infidelity. Is that what really it is? Men are emotionally attached elsewhere. Women are equally emotionally attached elsewhere. And these are married people or people who are in very serious relationships leading to marriage. I have lots of questions. Like how so? What kind of relationship did you have whilst you courted? Was there an unresolved conflict? Did they fall out of love? What really changed? This can actually spell doom for your marriage if you find yourself in a place like that. Much as they say it's just talks, we're just friends, no sexual relations attached, you could be brewing a lot more. My guests are seated this morning, and they will help us do justice to the subject. Reverend Kofi Boateng. He's a senior marriage counselor, a very spirited one at that. He's a realist too. And that's why I love him when he comes on the show. And he's an entrepreneur. Kofi, good morning. It's been a while.
Good morning, Adam, and thanks for all the fans this morning. It's been a while, and it's great to be back.
Yes, good to have you back. How's the family?
Everyone is great. I hope yours is good too.
Yes, we're well. Thank you. And I have a friend joining us this morning, Elsie Apiedu. She's a transformational coach.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
At Transform Mindsets.
I know he will.
But she has a lot of stuff when it comes to all of these things as well. So, Elsie, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Adam. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. So, yes, this is the basis and the bedrock for the conversation we're having this morning. Emotional infidelity. Let me start with you, Kofi. How does this come about?
Good morning again, and good morning to our listeners.
Or maybe to even find out, how would you even define it to start with?
Okay. So many of us know about physical infidelity or physical affairs or sexual affairs. But then there is this big elephant in the room, which we call emotional infidelity or emotional affairs, which involves a situation where a party or one or both people who may be in marital relationships or serious relationships become overly attached emotionally or have feelings for somebody else outside their marriage, and this becomes a person that they tend to spend a lot of time with or they communicate with a lot. They're sending text messages, phone calls, and usually in a very secretive way, so that their spouses may not know about them. So you may see that this may be different from having a platonic relationship where you have a friend that everyone knows, but they may be a person of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, you have feelings for them, but you are not sexually involved yet. Yet, because it's only a matter of time in most cases.
Yeah.
And this person may appear to be more understanding, more receptive of your conversations and things better than your spouse. And so in no time you see that you become emotionally distant from your spouse. You withdraw a little bit and then you talk more with this other person. So you yearn to spend time with this other person than even your spouse. You look forward to their text messages, you look forward to seeing them, you look forward to their phone calls, which is not very normal.
Not very normal. And also the key phrase there is that you keep this friendship secret.
Yes.
Your partner does not know about it, and they do not know the conversations you're having with them. So if, it's nothing like you're saying, why are you keeping it a secret?
Exactly.
Okay.
And you get very defensive when it comes out. He or she's just a friend, and there's nothing going on. Why are you jealous?
Exactly. Elsie, what more would you add to this?
I think he said everything I wanted to say, but let me also just add that sometimes it's not necessarily about your partner having an attachment, emotional attachment with someone else. Sometimes there are problems at home and things are not going so well, so one partner decides to withdraw, just not be emotionally available. That is it. Let's say as a form of punishment or like a consequence. So I'm just not going to be there for you.
Okay, that's another one. But
it is a form of emotional infidelity because you are supposed to be there for your partner at all times. Yes. So that's one aspect of it.
But that's not so harmful.
It is very harmful.
Really?
But then the major one, as Reverend has said, is also about having an emotional attachment to someone else, hiding it. Some people, they have chats with this person, and before they get home, they make sure they delete everything so that there's no trace of the conversation on their phone.
You don't just clear the chat, you delete
the chat. You
delete
it. Or you find yourself saving the name as something else. Maybe a lady's name is being saved as a guy's name, or a guy's name is being saved as a lady's name. The mechanic, my baba, but it's actually a lady.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so once you find yourself doing that, there's emotional infidelity.
Okay, great. So we've established it. Now, my next question is to find out, especially so in a marriage context. So you're married. You went through courtship, you went through counseling, you know this person, especially so, again, if it is not a relationship that you were forced into. So this marriage, the two of you consented to it. You probably courted for more than 6 months. So you know them very well and then decided to get into the marriage. What happens for you to now have the need to have this other person? What drives us there?
You know, Adam, we say that the grass is always greener on the other side. Many a time we don't appreciate what we have. You know, so you have a little friction or a little tension in your marriage, and you think that your spouse, you know, we tend to blame our spouses for all the problems that happen in our marriages. So you have a little situation in your marriage, and then you think that your spouse is not listening, you know, I hear a lot of women, and that's usually expected because women have a need for conversation. So you hear a lot of women complain that their husbands don't listen to them. They don't have time for conversations. And so you go out there and then you meet this guy who appears to listen to you more, who appears to have time for you, who appears to show more emotion towards your concerns, and you think that well, you know, what am I missing? Like, in some way, somehow, you think that this would have been a better option for you. And usually it's because maybe there's a breakdown in communication at home, or you're having issues, as Elsie alluded to earlier on. So that's how it happens. I mean, you think that this person has something that your spouse doesn't have, and that's what draws you to them.
Okay, so has this person been lurking around all the time?
Oh, all the time, everywhere, in our jobs, in our interactions on a daily basis. And some people actually go out to woo other people's spouses. And so they come out, appear very romantic, and they are very nice. They know what they're doing. But you think that you've met a nice guy.
Who's just listening to you.
Exactly. And you only find out that they are even worse than your spouse when you get married to them. So there are people who have left their relationships to go and be with someone like that, thinking that they are better listeners, they are more affectionate and all of these things. And then you get married to them and you realize that all they were doing was just to...
It was
just the fun. It was just...
Wow. Elsie, you want to... Yeah.
I would add to that, you know, we have the love languages. And sometimes some couples realize that their partner is not speaking their love language. So we have the acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, touch, and and you realize that, let's say the lady or the wife loves to hear good things,
but
nice
both
things.
Men and women fall to this.
Yes.
So let's not center it on the woman. We don't like that.
Okay, I'm going to the men, but I'm a woman myself, so let's start with the woman, so it doesn't sound like, you know. And then the men also, maybe the man loves to have acts of service, but the wife is not doing that. So he meets, let me use the men now, like you're saying. He meets a lady who understands all that. Let's say at the office, always at his service, brings him tea at his desk, you know, is always there at his service. So he realizes, wow, this lady seems to get it. So that attachment develops and it starts.
Okay. And I'll come to that, but I mean, if this person is your partner and this is what you want and they're not doing it, what stops you from communicating, from telling them?
Exactly.
And you go finding it in other people.
Exactly. That is why I always recommend that couples should be able to discuss difficult situations. If you want something, you have to let your partner know. Sometimes some people complain that their partners don't listen to them. Like the scenario you cited before the show started.
Yeah.
You're talking to your partner about a problem you've encountered. You need some kind of emotional support, some kind of pampering, but the partner is not giving it to you. And you have a friend you call who understands you, empathizes with you.
Appears to.
You know, so that is what
thank you.
that is what leads to that. It shouldn't be that way. I believe that once you've taken a vow, nobody forced you to take a vow. The words came out of your mouth. I always say that even if the marriage was forced, you made those vows yourself, and you have to commit to those vows. So if you are in the marriage, you have to make sure it works. Do your best to make it work. If not, the way out is to get out. If you can't get out, you have to make it out. And trying to get emotional support outside is cheating. It shouldn't happen that way.
So, as one person I have missed so much, eh? Kobe, what was the last time you were on the show? We won't talk about that here. Hey, it's been ages. Yeah. Please introduce yourself.
You know why she wants me to introduce myself?
No.
Because she always has a tendency of changing my name.
Oh, no.
And since I haven't been here in a long while,
no.
Wait,
it is Ata Kobna.
Oh, you I told you.
Kobna Ata
Oh no, but it's been ages. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How have you been?
I've been very well.
Great, welcome. We've been talking about emotional infidelity and finding out why, spouses and partners have the need to have some other people in their lives that they have such deep emotional connections with.
Okay, so first thing is that I don't think it's because they have a need to.
Okay.
It's a coping mechanism.
Ah.
Yes. So what happens is that
what are you coping with?
When you go through counseling, you are taught that don't bring a third person into your relationship.
Yeah.
That third person in your relationship should only be God.
Yeah.
But God is not physically present for you to talk to like a human being. And so it gets to a point when you have issues, and usually they are unmet expectations. And once you are not able to get past it with a second person in the relationship, then you find out that you are suffocating slowly but quietly in the relationship. So you feel the need to voice it out to a third person. Now, usually that person who becomes the one you are quote unquote cheating with is the person who is able to listen to you and most of the time is able to sympathize with you. So you use that as a coping mechanism to get past your issues.
Okay, hang on. What you need, I mean, if I'm listening to you well, is somebody to talk to, maybe a place to vent.
Yes.
Why do you choose to talk to the opposite partner, the opposite, sex, and not usually these things are not done with? So it's not me talking to Elsie, but it's either me talking to you or talking to Kofi. Why is it so?
There's a book called Act Like a Man,
Think
Think like a Woman.
Yeah.
Men think differently, react differently because we are wired differently. Women think differently, react differently because they are wired differently. The only way you can understand your spouse is to speak to someone of his kind or her kind.
Yes. Okay, but this is not to say that we're justifying it, right?
No, it's not to say we are justifying. I'm explaining to you that psychologically, when you go for counseling, you are told at some point that you have to build a network, because you see what happens is that we end up, and especially those of us in church, we end up building our whole lives around our spouses, and it is very unhealthy. I don't subscribe to that, because what happens is that as soon as your spouse is not around, especially those who die, those who live for a long time with their whole world revolving around their spouse, and they are into for the men, when they get past their 50s, approaching their 60s, when their wives die, they last less than 5 years.
Wow.
Yes, men don't last long in their old age. They don't last long when their wives die. If their world revolves around their spouses, they are not able to survive. They feel like there's something missing.
Yeah,
They don't have any
Huge
need,
sense of loss.
and they give up. So within 2-3 years they go, unless they find a wife for them. So it is important for everybody to have a network outside of their marriage to be able to live. Yeah. How did you describe him? That is me. Realist.
Kofi, do you agree to that?
Yes. But we also have to look at this in two ways. You know, some people in relationships or in marriages are trying so hard to fix their spouses. They think they see something in them that they don't like, and they try so hard to fix it. And when it's not working, they become very frustrated. And so they start to look for an outlet, you know, and then they meet this other person. For some, it's accidental. Everything may be going well. It's like, there's a proverb that I'm trying to remember. It's like, you don't know what's going on outside until you get there or something like that. But it's like, everything is fine until one day you run into this other person and you start having a conversation, and then all of a sudden, a light bulb goes up in your head, and you're like, wow, he gets it. You know, you didn't even know that you had a problem. But now the way this person is listening to you, responding to you, you know, you're like, wow, I wish my husband was like this. I wish my wife was like this. You know, the way he can even tell what I need before I even open my mouth. Wow. That's how, you know.
By the way, those who will cheat sexually, they go out to look for those they will cheat with. Those who are cheating emotionally are usually people who don't have the courage to take it to that point. And so it starts off, so it doesn't start off as if they plan to do it. It starts off with, I need help. I find help from here. I get used to this kind of help. Point is that it's only a matter of time before you cross the barrier.
You need help. Why? Kofi, finish. You were on a certain tangent.
Yeah, so I think, like I was saying, it could be accidental, as Kojo was saying, Kopna, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and then you find yourself liking spending time with this person more and more, hearing from them more and more, looking forward to hear from them, looking forward to share. As you said in your narrative initially, it's like you have something happens, and the first person you should be thinking about calling would be your spouse. But now you think about this person because you think he or she gets it better than your spouse. And so before you know, you fall in the trap of emotional infidelity. This is before you become sexually, before you consume the relationship sexually.
Yes,
or you consummate.
That we need to know that we are social beings. The fact, like Kobe said, the fact that you're married doesn't mean you have to cut off friendships with people of the opposite sex. It's very difficult, let's face it. Sometimes you talk to people where there are issues in their marriage. They just want someone to talk to. So it's very true. Sometimes this emotional attachment develops without you realizing it. But what I think is that you have to keep tabs on those relationships and those conversations, so that if you realize that you are beginning to develop an unhealthy attachment
but
to
you are
the
enjoying
person,
it, seems to be solving your problems.
well, we need to talk to people. It keeps us sane. You need to talk to people.
That's
you
the right word.
Yes, you need to talk to people. It helps you. Let's face it. Your only conversation cannot be with your spouse. But that is where you have to be in control. You have to make sure that the conversation is not getting out of hand. The attachment is not getting too intimate. It's not getting to a point where you are beginning to have to hide things from your spouse, or beginning to feel ashamed of things that you are discussing. So I would say that once you realize it's getting to a certain point, make it stop, pull out of it. Yes, you have to.
When
Other
you're
than
neck
that,
deep.
it can get out of hand. And I think more than half of such emotional infidelity ends up in sexual infidelity.
Relationships, yeah.
Before we continue on that line, I want to bring us back. So, what happens to your partner in all of these? You're beginning to talk to somebody. Yes, you're gaining your sanity back. And you're beginning to understand that, okay, probably it's not like you're weird, So yeah, probably it's your partner who is not really understanding you. And once they plan not to understand you, and someone understands you, and you feel like, okay, yeah, I am normal after all.
Yeah.
And so you are okay.
Yeah.
What happens to your marriage and your partner from then on? Before we even get into the point where you're beginning to get, probably sexually involved.
So it gets to a point where, as I said earlier on, you withdraw emotionally from your spouse. So your spouse may be at the brunt of that, because now you don't want to participate in activities, whether it's intimacy or normal dates, conversations with your spouse. So your spouse suffers. Communication will be cut, will be minimized, because you're spending more time talking to this other person.
Yeah.
You don't share intimate stuff with them anymore. Basically, your spouse is at a loss. They don't have a wife or a husband anymore, because you have gotten married or you're in a relationship with somebody else.
And sometimes you're feeling justified because you tell yourself, I be there cause
exactly, it's their fault. They don't, imagine a woman whose love language is words of affection, who wants to hear I love you, who wants to hear you're looking beautiful. She doesn't get it from the husband, and then she goes out and there's this guy at work who is always so flattery. Hey, I like the dress you're wearing. And in some organizations we are not even allowed to do that, because it will be a form of sexual harassment. But of course, in many organizations these things are normal.
Yeah.
People go around saying all kinds of things to people, and so this woman, I know you said we shouldn't use women, but just allow me, looks forward to going to hear these words, flattery words from this guy all the time, and your spouse is not doing it. So he's there thinking that everything is okay, or he sees that you all of a sudden you've withdrawn, you're hiding your text messages. When you get phone calls, you're running somewhere else, and basically this is what it ends up.
So at the long run, what you're saying is that this could be keeping you sane. You could be happy. You could gain your confidence back. But at the long run, your marriage will suffer.
Exactly. You're hurting your spouse.
No, I don't even want to go. You're part of the marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, so you see, what happens is that I don't want. I'm tired of the troubles. So once you escape to this other side, you find out that everything seems to have quietened. Because listen, I'm not going to ask you a question for you to say something that will hurt me anymore. I'm not coming to discuss anything with you, like the example you gave.
Yeah.
For you to come and act in a manner that I don't find acceptable, quote unquote. So the spouse becomes, I'm careful to use the word spouse. so the spouse becomes just a constant in the equation.
Exactly.
All the numbers around the equation will keep moving and changing. The spouse is the constant there. And this is the hypocrisy of our system. The reality is this: some marriages were not meant to be.
Yeah.
Some marriages are not meant to be. But when the people get to the point where it is not working, number one, the people around us, family, friends, church, pastors, are afraid to deal with the issues. Everyone will tell you to pray, and they will leave you to wallow in your pain, and the issue doesn't go away. In the long run, you realize that it's just you and your spouse and your God. So what do you do? That is what brings this. If we would be realistic enough and not be hypocritical, then we can solve these things. Because sometimes it just needs one person to look at the other person's face to say, you know what, stop this nonsense, and everything will stop. But nobody is able to look at the person's face to say, stop this nonsense. So the thing degenerates. And truth is, apart from those who are actually serial cheaters, people get into this situation accidentally, and it is almost imperceptible. So by the time you realize that this is really what is happening, and you'll be in denial.
You're far gone.
You'll be in denial. So when people point to you that this thing is getting too cozy, you don't seem to realize it. So you say, oh, no.
You'd
just
be
a
your
friend.
third trimester.
Or sometimes in your mind you do, but you're enjoying it, and so you tell yourself it's
So
okay.
it's
you
like
know.
it's like the change process or
Yeah.
the change process. You start off being in denial.
Yeah.
So you say, no.
This
It
is
is
not
not
it.
it.
Yes.
Before you get to the point where you realize,
Oh,
could it be
gosh.
true? Then you find, okay, it's true. But by that time you are hooked.
It's difficult
And
to
now
break
you're
it
trying
off.
to find
So
ways to
finding
protect
ways
it.
to
Yes.
get out.
difficult.
Yes. And the reason why people would save different names and all try to protect it is also part of the reason.
Yeah.
The hypocritical
Yeah.
system we have. That okay, this is happening. Now, if I tell my spouse, or if my spouse finds out, he's going to tell the whole world. How am I going to look in the eyes of the whole
Everybody.
world? So I have to protect myself.
Your side of the story will
Yeah.
not be heard.
Yes.
And then so they try to find ways of covering it. Some of it is the kind of person you are living with, and it's about communication. So people, we always say in counseling that be transparent with your spouse and communicate. So we say speak the truth, but speak the truth in love. These three processes of communication. Now, what happens then is, depending on who you are with, you know that this person can't deal with information in a certain way.
Yeah.
So, do I speak the truth and risk what happens? Or, like we say in Akan Proverbs, time, so that I can preserve what is left of the relationship. Because you also don't want to destroy it with your own hands. So then people devise ways of protecting it. The only thing I'll add to it is that, especially when it is women who are on the receiving side, there are guys in the system now who prefer married women.
Exactly. It goes both ways, actually.
Like I said, there are ladies who also prefer married.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, they have everything to lose.
So, if you don't read the signs well, there are guys who have mastered
fall
the
prey.
art
Yeah.
of spotting distressed women.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, they've mastered the art of spotting distressed women. They just position themselves in an advantageous place, and they emit the signals to attract you.
So they're usually not real.
They're not real.
Of course.
I know some instance where the person left the marriage thinking that there's someone on the side, only for the person to say, but I was not ready to marry you. So she's lost this one and lost this one, and the person is in the middle.
Yep.
So you've gone ahead of my conversation, but I was just trying to bring us to a point where we understand that. Yes, it could be as a result of unresolved conflict. You could have drifted apart. Reasons why you're beginning to now, seek consolation elsewhere. It could be that you're just not talking, you're not communicating. Something maybe drastic may have changed in the relationship. So you find solace in someone else. That's true. But at the end of it all, you should know that this will hurt the marriage.
Yes.
Regardless of the peace, of the comfort, of the sanity, or whatever it is that you find.
Yeah.
You haven't solved the problem that led you into talking to someone else.
Yes. Yes.
And so, yes, run all you can. This problem is still waiting
waiting
for you.
Yes.
You're either going to keep running till you don't come back, or you will come back when it is all damaged. So next I want to find out, Elsie started it. At what point, because like we all said, it starts as a harmless relationship, and you just feel like, okay, I'm just talking to somebody. At what point does it dawn on you, or what are the signs? What do you see to realize that this has gone beyond just talking to you now having need for that person?
Okay.
Now you know that you are not weird. Your problems have been solved. You've gained your sanity back. But you still have need for this person. And that's when you start having conversations, and it's not like, oh, hi, Kojo, or hi, Kobe, or hi, Kofi anymore. It's like, oh, hi, babes. Oh, hi, darling. and it starts getting there, at that point you have broken all the barriers and you are getting very cozy. But what are the signs really? Can we, because you see, like you two said, some of these things start very harmlessly. Like, I didn't go in to go and cheat.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody. But before you realize, it's something else. So where does it get to? What do you see for you to realize that, okay, I need to start, doing something about this?
Okay. So I would say that if you realize that you are beginning to daydream about the person,
Yes.
or you're looking forward to your conversations with the person eagerly, or you want your partner to leave, go to work quickly, or you're in a hurry to leave the house so you can get on the phone with the person, you realize that you don't look forward to your partner's calls anymore, or communicating with your partner during the day, or generally you start withdrawing more, then you should know that it's beginning to get dangerous.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, great.
And then you also become sexually attracted to the person, and you are very protective of that person. You're protective of the things you share, and that's why, as Kojo said, that's why you keep Sorry, why do I keep calling you Kojo this morning? You keep your secrets. You're hiding your messages. You're hiding your phone calls, and then, as Elsie rightly said, you look forward to spending time with this person. You look forward to hearing from them, and you don't enjoy time with your spouse anymore as you used to. You would rather be with this other person,
And you don't even crave for time with your partner
not
anymore.
at all.
Yes.
Not at all.
You make excuses
Yeah.
not to be with your partner,
Yes.
just so you can make time.
Yeah.
I mean, even not physical time, but like Elsie said, time on the phone with them.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you begin to get upset
Mm-hmm.
when the person is not picking your calls.
Yes.
Ah,
It's
that one
not-
also comes in.
It's not calling you
Okay.
when you were usually supposed to call.
Mhm.
So if it has become a ritual where
Hey,
he calls you as soon as you get to the office, or you sit at your desk. If he doesn't call when he's supposed to call, you get upset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're demanding.
Then you get upset when you see that the person is being nice with someone else and it's
Hello.
not
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
So
You get
jealousy sets in.
Ah.
Then you begin to take more time when you are dressing to go to work, especially with the women.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
is
with
it
the men
person-
as well.
You want to look good for this
Men
person.
as well. Yes. Hit the gym.
So once you start realizing you are doing these things,
Yeah.
then you know that, okay, it's not just the mind that went, the
Yes.
heart has followed.
Yes. Yes.
And it goes beyond you having conversations about your problems.
Mm-hmm. And now, even to withdraw, when you come to the realization, it becomes painful for you to withdraw from that person.
Yeah.
You now you think you're being sensitive. You don't want to hurt them, but it's mostly for your own self. You yourself,
my
you're
God.
enjoying being there. So when you have to break up the relationship, you behave as if you're concerned about hurting that other person, but it's for your own self because you like where you are.
Ah.
And then also when things happen to you, you don't think about calling your spouse. The first person that comes to mind is this person.
Now, how do you get your partner to know these are your problems? Or it's gone
Confess.
beyond
You
there?
have to confess. And
No, I'm even talking about. You
Okay.
see, these are the needs that drove
The
you.
underlying
the needs
issues.
that drove you
Yeah.
into this emotional
first place.
affair. How before we even get there, how do we get our partners to understand these needs that they will have to take care of?
You see, there are recalcitrant spouses. You know, spouses.
Because we want to solve
Yeah,
the
it's like
issue.
you've complained. You believe that you've complained and talked about issues, and you're not getting anywhere. So it doesn't feel like another chance to sit and talk will bring any solution. You know,
You've prayed, you
You've
feel
prayed,
like God is not
exactly.
even listening to you.
exactly.
That's why I said Ababewu and Sanswaba. The honestly speaking, change would only come in when there's been some form of distraction. So something has to give for one person to wake up from the slumber. The sad thing is that you can force a horse to a river, but you can't force it to drink. So what will happen is that you may be ready for reconciliation. You would have quit that relationship or friendship. But if the other person still is not able to get it, that is why I sum it up as unmet expectations.
Yeah.
Because there are expectations you have of your spouse, and everyone has one. So if the person is not really to see things your view and meet you halfway at least, then you find out that you quit and come back to the same situation and come and wallow in the same situation. And that is what makes a lot of people, especially the men, they die off prematurely. So you'll be there and you hear, oh, there was nothing wrong with him. He just went to sleep and didn't wake up. Or he just collapsed and that's it.
Yeah.
Because men tend not to be more verbal or vocal. So they internalize when they have issues.
Their pain.
And for a man who has issues like that in the marriage, it is also cultural that you have to be a man.
Yeah.
So you can't go and tell another man your issues. It means you are not man enough to manage your home. So you internalize these things. So the reason why men fall prey to this is because they find the escape to vent just for the person to understand that, am I being unreasonable or not? Then they get stuck there. So when he comes, he finds that it is wrong and he quits and he comes back. But the issue is not changing with the spouse. He just decides that, you know what, I'm not even going to waste my time trying to fix this.
Yeah.
So why don't you just get out?
That is the hypocrisy of our system. Try to leave. Go to everybody you know in this world and say, I want to leave my spouse. They'll give you 101 reasons why you have to stay.
Because there's a message here. When you have so many unresolved conflicts in your marriage, what do? My husband hates and becomes angry when I want us to talk about issues. He talks everything persona, but he is the nicest person outside home. This is from Amma. Nicest person outside home, but your partner feels like you are the most ugly person when you are with them, and he doesn't want to discuss the issues. So if a partner like this falls pray to
someone who will listen. Supposedly.
I would say that you have to learn to love yourself. Okay. We are what, for instance, Kobe mentioned that even if you go out there, and Reverend said the same thing, we all agree. Even if you go out there, have an emotional affair with someone, eventually it wouldn't work. It would affect the marriage even more. So if you take that out, learn to love yourself. Learn to know yourself. Look, we have so much within us than we know. I always keep emphasizing this. So if you realize your partner is not being available for you, maybe don't focus too much on him. Focus on some interests that you have. Focus on being happy. Try that as well and see how it goes.
See, we say these things all the time. They're easier said.
You see, the focus. It's true. The focus. We have picked one of the targets of focus. For most, the target of focus is their work. For most people, they just decide to
bury themselves in work.
On their work. For most women who don't have the courage to get a partner somewhere, they focus on church and women's fellowship. So at the end of the day, it comes back to the fact that despite the fact that your spouse is there, you need a network.
Yes.
So you will always have something to tend to.
You need a network, but also need a sense of self-identity. You know, some people don't have self-identity at all.
Some people do. They just lose it when they get married.
They lose it because you see what happens is, for example, for a woman who's not getting the attention and the love she's expecting from their spouse, and sometimes those expectations are unrealistic. They are unrealistic. They read too much Mills and Boone and those fantasy love.
They watch too much telenovela.
So when they don't, what happens is that they begin to ask themselves that, what is wrong with me? am I not a woman or am I not a wife? Why can't he do what others are doing?
For their wives.
Then gradually they lose their self-esteem and their confidence and everything.
Yeah.
So the reason why they find that person attractive is because that person somehow seems to bring the worst that part out of them.
Exactly. We are all wired differently.
Yeah.
This one says, if you have tried all that you could, prayer, friends, pastors, yet your partner does not allow him or herself to solve the issues, what do you do? And that's the hypocrisy Kobe keeps talking about. At the point where you realize that this is going nowhere, and
the person is not ready to change.
No, they're not.
In fact, you see, for him to change, he has to first acknowledge that this is an issue.
Not ready to change.
Then we will fix it. But the person doesn't see it as an issue. It is not an issue. So, what team do you team?
Adam, you know,
let me just read this message
sure.
again. My coping mechanism is to decide to treat myself better than my spouse, like Elsie was saying. Give myself my best in instances like that, without necessarily seeking attention from someone else who is not my spouse, just to avoid issues that come with engaging third persons. Okay, yes, Kofi.
So
and then I also activate
that
the phone lines on 0302216541.
There's the 80-20 rule when it comes to problems in marriages, and it says that 80% of the problems in your marriage may be, only 20% of the problems that you see in your marriage are actually problems that are coming from your spouse, and 80% of them are actually with you. So you have your own internal struggles, and you are trying so hard. You think the fault is that, or the issues are with your spouse, and you're trying so hard to fix them. But sometimes you have to look within. So you see that a lot of people complain about their spouse, they complain about all these problems, but they forget that they themselves have some unresolved problems from either their upbringing or their past that they're dealing with. You grew up seeing things a certain way, and you're trying so hard for your home to run that way, or for your spouse
in this instance, when you go talking to someone else outside who seems to understand you, you realize that all these other problems that might be internal don't even show,
because you tell them one side of the story. I mean,
and
as counselors,
you're not married to them.
Exactly, as counselors, we hear that all the time. Somebody will call you, or you sit with someone and they tell you their story, and you will think that the other person is a demon, and you can't wait to cast them out. But you wait to hear their side of the story, and you realize that all you heard was this one-sided, what you call it?
Very true.
Selfish or self-centered story.
That's why
so sometimes we have to look within.
Oh, where did the message go? Was for you. Says Kobna Megabytes. Good morning, Mr. Kobna Megabytes. Welcome back from your hideout. What's that? What is it with you and Megabytes?
Is that your nickname?
He's just being naughty. It means he was my mate in school.
Okay.
There's a message I really want to read. The person said it's been 13 years. Her husband, I've seen it. She says, good morning, Adam. Thank you for this topic this morning. It's like you're in my home. For 13 years now, my husband's phone does not ring. It's in fact a no-go area. No affection, no care, nothing. Always about friends of the opposite sex that I do not even know. Always deleting messages from these supposed friends. Money being spent on these friends and their family, and the family is neglected. I just keep quiet for peace at home. And I ask myself, for how long is that going to be? God have mercy on our marriages.
So the question is, why did he change?
Why did who change? Why did the husband
He changed, yes.
But I thought you mentioned that there are some people who just, for some people it's just a habit, and like they do this thing without.
No, I said that there are some. That's why I'm not using it. I'm saying there are some spouses who are naturally cheats. Now, and there's little you can do about it. We are not dealing with those people. We are dealing with those who are not supposed to be cheats, who change. So what made him change?
If they have been married for 13 years, then nothing has changed.
Chances are that there are issues.
Okay, she's listening. So let's know what changed. Have you been married for 13 years?
He is the one who has changed, who has flipped and decided, I'm not going to worry anymore. So he's found a coping mechanism
somewhere else. This one says, Adam, I wish my girlfriend is listening. I'm Kobe from Osu. Adam, I wish I got off I got my girlfriend through emotional infidelity. And now she's doing same.
What goes around
Comes around.
Doing same thing. Please help. I'm coming from. Please, let me talk to Chidia. Hi, Chidia. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Okay.
First of all, may I congratulate your people with in-depth thinking going on there. First, I want to know, have they experienced these things themselves or they read them from the book? And two, as complex as human beings are, I cannot foresee any solution to this problem.
Oh, why? So for you, it's doomed.
Oh, no. Adam, human beings, just read all human beings and see how they behave. Today this, tomorrow that. There's no solution to this problem. Thank you.
Wow.
as in spouses will continue to cheat emotionally.
Like, yes, and then why is the person yes that there's no solution? And he also wants to find out if you read them.
Who answered that?
Exactly. Everybody's crying. Our spouses are listening.
Oh gosh.
Thank you for his call.
This one says that, good morning. I am a victim of today's topic. I don't delete my messages, and unfortunately my husband picked my phone and read some of my messages, and now he thought of going to divorce me because he claims I am cheating, and now he's not being able to go, giving me a total silence treatment, and I'm also ignoring him well.
Wow.
Please advise me in what to do. My name is Joyce and Dansuman. And says what? My marriage is 10 years and the same as the one whose marriage is 13 years, and I'm also in the same dilemma. My question is, for how long do I continue this? So for people who find themselves here, and it's like the partner is not listening, they are at their wits' end, and they kind of find some solace in having somebody they're having this emotional affair with on the side. But they still know within them that this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I wish I could save my marriage. But it looks like my marriage is, out of line.
Yeah.
What do they do? Let me speak to Richard and come back. Hi, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, Richard. How are you today?
I'm blessed. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Let's hear you.
All right. It seems like they are talking about me. And one thing I've also discovered is that many times when you go to people to talk to them, they don't actually give you the answer that you would actually satisfy you. My issue is that when I married, I actually gave it all. But with time, I realized that there is a funny behavior that doesn't go well with me. Probably we can meet halfway. When I bring an idea, it seems like it's being thrown under the carpet. Things doesn't go as planned. And I discovered that there is a mixed feeling somewhere, which I've actually made up my mind to go all out. So eventually, I started to withdraw. And it has been so to now. So my question is that, why?
Hang on, for how long?
Okay, let me say for about a year or two now, I changed in emotion because I didn't like how things are going.
Okay, wait. And you didn't think that you had to find ways of letting your partner understand, like do something different to get them to understand where you're coming from?
Wow, that is what I normally do. Actually, the hard discussion that you're talking about, I've done that. Looking at a scenario when probably I know you can engineer for sex. Now, both sides can do. When it's coming from one-sided, it's actually alarming. And you can't do the same thing all the time. Probably there have to be some variety. Okay, so the hard discussion, I've done it. In fact, in my home, I don't hide things. And, I always say that sometimes when you are introducing the third person, which is not God, but any other person, then you are destroying your marriage. Because if you are not fortunate and you get somebody who doesn't side with you, you probably got yourself into problem. So with that one, I've done it. In fact, just last year, late last year, and I have to introduce family. Now, whenever I am annoyed and probably that I'm pissed off and I want to get some air in outside, probably she would actually lock me up from the room. Sometimes we'll bring out knives, to.
Okay, Richard. Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, I guess you would want to deal with this issue, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
But I
Please.
want, no problem. I
Yes.
want the truth. Yeah. What is causing her to behave that way? Because if you claim you love somebody, you would not go to that extent. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, Daniela will take your number.
All right.
Okay, and then I will let you speak to one of the gentlemen in the studio when we're done. I am sure that once you want it dealt with, let's hope that your partner wants it dealt with as well. And this is like an easy chop. Okay. All right, Richard. Thanks for calling.
All right.
Sometimes when you have men call into your show like that and they're passionate about the issues, you can only imagine the challenge at home.
People like this, not just men.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, bro.
Oh, God, what's
You say, you should man up. Then they're dining.
It is well. Now, let me tell you about Nalem Clothing. Okay, Richard. Okay, so let me just put this number out there. It's off. I'll charge it. So maybe in the next 2 hours you can reach me. So I can, what do I say? Let's use a certain word. The word is not coming. 0262874707. 0262874707. That's where you can reach me. So when you get through to me, I will direct you to Kofi or to Kobe. Now, Nalem Clothing is the best place to buy quality and elegant Afrocentric garments and fashionable accessories. And they have outdoored the Nalem Ayede promotion for you. Walk into any Nalem store and grab your Afrocentric garments for your family and friends as we celebrate Ghana Month. Gift vouchers are also available. We have in stock special outfits for gents, ladies, and kids. Locate Nalem at Accra Mall, Achimota Retail Center, Junction Mall, Oxford Street Mall, West Hills Mall, our home store in Labadi, Kotoka International Airport, Terminals 2 and 3, and Kokomlimle Shop. You can also shop online at www.nalemstore.com or www.ahomestore.com. Call Nalem on 050-139-7814 or 050-158-6418 for a real shopping experience. Nalem Ayede, where Nalem, where Ghana. T&Cs do apply. And Home Affairs is brought to us by Indomie. Tastes great. So how do we deal with this problem? Let me speak to Andrew quickly and then we solve the problem. Hi, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Andrew. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you all?
I am well. We're well. Thank you.
Thanks. Now you let me know why men die early when their spouse are no more. So what can we do about it? Because it happens all the time. You could see that men always die early and then the women stay. So what will be the solution? That's my question.
Okay, Andrew, come in listening.
The men are few. You do that, the men are few.
And they also die early.
Yeah, and we always die early. So who's going to marry the women?
We carry the problems of the world.
Okay.
He wants a response.
Yes.
Brother, there's one solution to this. In fact, two.
Kobe.
Don't marry. And if you don't marry to,
don't love your wife.
Don't go about pissing around.
So
keep everything to yourself.
You should be celibate.
And you live longer.
Yes.
Well, I would say that in our society, the men are brought up to be men.
Mm-hmm.
if you try to talk, you are being weak in our society. But it shouldn't be that way. I feel once you're married, that's why you're married. You should be able to open up to your spouse. So men should try to express themselves to their spouses more.
When the spouse is the problem.
But let the spouse know that, what you're doing is making me feel lonely. It's making me feel alone. Some men wouldn't talk at all. They feel, okay, you're doing this, you see, I'll go. But have you tried talking? If you tried and you were not listened to, that is another thing.
Different temperaments react differently. Exactly. So you'd have the melancholic not talking about it, would keep quiet.
Yeah.
You would have the sanguine being emotional about it, crying and all that. You would have the choleric getting frustrated and aggressive.
Yeah.
The phlegmatic would pretend there is no problem. Yeah. And that is even more dangerous.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we have just 4 minutes to go. I'm getting the sense that once your marriage drifts into an emotional affair, it's like that's the end of it. Is that it?
No.
Okay, so I mean, in a minute each, like, how do we deal with this? Yes, Kobe.
Listen, there's an aspect of addressing marital issues like this that we gradually are losing. Even our judicial system has changed. In the past, when you apply for divorce, they won't grant divorce. They would make you separate for a year and come back after a year. And if you haven't been able to reconcile, then they would grant the divorce. Separation is a way of creating a space, void, so that everyone can reflect. And sometimes it will take the person not being around like you are used to for you to realize how you miss the person. And then you realize I need the person back. That is when you decide that I will do what it takes. That's when people now pay attention. So for the man who is doing this, if the wife is not there anymore, and now he has to wake up and cook for himself, and wash for himself, and clean the house for himself, and do everything, then he realizes that, after all, this woman had some use. So, do I compromise and get her back?
Okay, Kobe, you know what we are going to do? I think that this is like a topic that we shouldn't rush because there are too many sides to it. Yeah. Yes, I think we shouldn't rush it. We've barely scratched the surface. Next week, I think if you're able to make time, we should spend time to look at
the solutions,
and also how this can affect not just you. Sometimes you end up just looking out for yourself. But if there are children involved in this marriage, how does this affect them? Yes, you are not going out to sleep with anybody, but there is virtually no marriage. And depending on the age of the children, they can also see some of these things. So how do we deal with all of these things? And honestly, if it gets to the point where that is what you guys don't like talking about, but will it ever get to a point where we can tell people that, you know what, when you are dying, or when you realize that there is no way out, get out?
It has to be spoken about.
Kofi, can we ever get there?
Yeah, why not? I mean, if you should, no one should die in a marriage.
You didn't marry to die.
I always use one phrase: Jesus Christ died once for mankind.
No other human being should die.
No human being must die because of another human being.
Why? No, because if like who called us? Was it Richard? Yes.
Yeah, Richard.
Who wants it solved?
Yeah.
If you speak to him and you speak to his wife and they want a solution to this, easy.
Yeah.
Then you are able to guide them through what they have to do to have their relationship back. But if one person says that
I don't want it,
take it or leave it. This is who I am.
Yeah.
If you like, stay. If you like, don't stay. Why should anybody beg anybody to stay in a relationship?
That is you can force a horse to the river, but you can't force it to drink.
Okay. So hopefully next week we will continue and also be able to take a lot more phone calls and answer your questions on the show, because I see that it's a very complicated subject. But thank you very much, LC. One day we should do something on transformational coaching, loving yourself.
Yes, we should.
And Kofi, thank you, Reverend Kofi Mwate. Kofi, have you become a reverend too?
No.
On your way?
No.
How so?
It must everyone be a pastor.
You are too brutal to me.
You see, man, not thyself.
Kobe will shake the altar.
You should see him discussing political issues. You go ball. But thank you all very much. Enjoy the weekend. And Food 101, you brought us breakfast. Last week, Best Western Plus, you brought us breakfast as well. Thank you all very much for supporting. And our Easter Soup Kitchen is on. So, stuff for the needy: chicken, rice, money, clothes, not torn clothes, please, but very decent clothes. But then the food items, oil, everything, pharmaceutical companies who can give us medications and all that. We need everything to support the needy in our society. So if you have them, please call us or bring them to JoyFM. We'll come and pick it. You can call 0302 216540 and we will reach out to you. Thank you very much. My name is Adam Knight T. We're out of here. Next week, we come your way again. Boy,